Enjoy your meeting. Just a reminder, today's meeting is being recorded. Meeting room locked.
So yesterday we talked till the test plan. Let me revise. We talked about the important entry and exit criteria for each phase within the. Let me go to the content in slide number 19. Then we'll continue with the test plan. I don't want to go in details, but only the what is the input, what is the output. In requirements capture and analysis, the inputs are requirement specification document and any type of document, development, design document, or can be anything like that. What do you do in this phase? We only come up with different questions, read the document, get prepared, and come up with the questions. Then we're going to reach out to the team members and get the answer. So once you join the project, you will be given a lot of documentation. You need to read through the documentation, get familiarized with the project. Then if you have any questions, you need to approach the right analyst or developer depending on the question. Deliverables will be, the questions will be answered so that you know what is in requirement document, what can be tested, what cannot be tested. That idea you will get by asking these questions.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello, background while you are talking, so can you please increase your volume?
You are not able to hear properly?
Right, I'm not able to hear properly. Yesterday was good, but today.
Now can you hear me properly?
Yesterday it was good. It was much better, but today.
Okay, let's try for some time. If you still don't hear properly, then let me I changed the microphone to my headset, so that might be the reason. Okay. So in test planning phase, what is the input? Again, we go through the requirement documents. There is a lot of questions you might have, and while you prepare the test plan, while filling the content in the template, you might get questions. So those questions still need to be answered. And where you get those answers from the requirement document, and also by asking your team members. And the content that we fill in a test plan document are many items. So I'm not going to read here. Yesterday we covered this topic. But the outputs after you're done with the test planning phase is a test plan document. And you will have a testing effort estimation document which tells you how much time each task will take, how many resources you need, where do you need to test, all that will be covered in the test plan. Today, we'll go through the theoretical knowledge of test plan, and if time permits, we'll try to take a template and fill the content in the test plan. I'll give you a requirement document, and that will be like a real project requirement document. And your homework will be to read and fill it. So in the class, I will tomorrow, if today time permits, we'll do it. Otherwise, tomorrow in the class, I will fill in front of you so that you understand like what that we need to enter in a test plan template. Okay. In test case development phase, the entry criteria still will be the requirements, because what are you doing? Initially, you entered all the information in the template, but that doesn't mean that you know what exactly you need to test. You know from a high level, okay, I need to test this application, this page, this page, this page. But you don't know what details within the page you need to test. That will be covered in the test case development or test designing phase. Entry criteria, inputs will still be the requirements document. That means while writing test cases, you still review this, go through the requirements documents and come up with the answers for the test cases. Once you are done, your output will be test cases in Excel or Quality Center or any other test management tool. And test data will be created, and test automation scripts will be created as your deliverables. After test case development, we need to make sure we have to have, you have to execute test cases one by one. In order to do that, your environment should be ready. Environment is like, can be anything. Like you are living in a house, and your house, you have so many different components, not only just rooms, you have other features within your house that you enjoy day-to-day life. Exactly, environment is like that. You set up everything. You need a browser, you need a server, you need an application like that. You set up everything before starting, and make sure everything is ready, up and ready. That means if you have to, upgrade or update anything like that, that needs to be done. Who does it? We QA testers won't update the environment. There will be some other team which will be doing that for us. After test environment setup is done, the next thing is execution, where we have to run one by one all the test cases. Once you execute, you know how many passed, how many failed. Then you will have a idea like how many have passed. If there is any failure, that means that you need to immediately create a defect or a bug. Okay, any failed test case will have a bug always, and you will assign that bug to this test case. And whenever the developer fix the code, you will have to retest the particular test case again. If you have 20 test cases that have failed, you have to retest again all of them, and also do some regression testing. Test cycle closure is at the last. Execution is done. Now we are saying, I'm done with everything. Now project team, go and check my documents and let me know if you still feel that I have covered or if there is any gap, let me know. That way you will fill all this document content. And finally, the output of the test cycle closure will be a test closure report and test metrics. Metrics means it tells you how many defects have been created, how many test cases have been tested, who are the testers, what kind of defects, priority, severity, all that information will be captured, okay, in the test cycle. Why do you need this information? You take this information and figure out what went wrong and what went right. Testing phase, after that the test manager will look at the metrics and figure out how are we doing with a particular project. If there is any improvement that we need to make in the testing process, we can make it by looking at the numbers. Okay, but if you directly work on a project, everyone will be working. But how do you know who is working better than other, or at least how much we have captured, how many we have found? Those kind of information will be through the metrics. So today we'll go detailedly into the test plan. Now, what is a test plan? Now this is a very critical document that is it's very important. Your ability as a tester will be derived by the test plan initially. So when you fill this test plan, everyone will ask you to review your test plan with the project team. You have to go through the content one by one. Once you go through the content in it, they will look to see if you have covered all the requirements or not. So you have to read the requirements, fill this test plan document and present it, and get their sign-off. Sign-off means their agreement that, okay, this is good, this document is good, go ahead, test exactly like how you have mentioned in this document. So what is this document? It details a systematic approach to testing a system, such as a machine or a software. So the application which we are using for to do online training, that might not have been tested properly because some of the content is working, it's not working. So if the test plan might have included to give the important features of sharing your screen, but not be like a performance or any there are like controls that are missing. So these are like the requirements that are missed. So if the requirements are already written by their developers, they would have added that. They didn't do that. That means they have missed it. Either they have missed it or they don't have the capability to do it. Most likely they might have missed these requirements. Now, a test plan document will tell us like what requirements have been covered or not covered. Okay, if you are a very good tester and you are experienced, you use your literal knowledge and experience to write this test plan. Then while writing it, you realize that some of the requirements are not accurate. That means they are talking about something, testing about something, and we'll go through some of the requirements actually. We'll use one of them. When they go to the requirements, you will realize that some of the requirements are so vague or not clear, but how can we really test these kind of scenarios? That will be the question. So you can raise that, and somebody analyst will update the requirements based on your input. Just today in the morning, actually, I had a discussion with my analyst going through the document. I figured out that there was some problem with the data, and and while I'm doing ETL testing, I figured out something is wrong in the requirement document, and he explained like why he has went in a certain direction. So we have to constantly reach out to the project team to get that information, and it's an ongoing process. Now, test plan documents the strategy that will be used to verify and ensure that the product or system meets its design specification and other requirements. So, in an interview, they won't ask you definition of a test plan, but they will ask you what will be in a test plan, what are the contents, and what are the different sections you need to fill. Those kind of questions will be asked constantly, and it's always good to remember. So, each company, they have their own set of templates. Somebody might use in one format, other people might use in another format. So it depends. So, but which the common ones I have put in this particular presentation here. So in each test plan, you will have introduction. Introduction, we tell introduction about what? Introduction about the project. The one which you are testing, that is introduction. First is the purpose. Why you are testing this? Why you want to test this particular project? We'll go through details when we look at an example. Scope of the project. Here, in this particular slides, listen carefully. Remember the meaning of each individual subsection. Okay. Scope of the project means, do I need to test these number of pages? Do I need to test only one web page? All that information will be in the scope. Means, do I have to test the entire website, or do I need to test only one module? Do I need to test only the hotels? That hotels.com. I want you to remember hotels.com because it's a pretty easy site, and everyone will try to book a hotel or book a flight. That's a very common phenomenon. Every internet customer does that. E-commerce customer do that. So in that portal, there are so many individual modules. So your scope for your project, if they are only modifying only one module there, the search module or the hotel, that content, the page, then you have to test only that. And regression testing, you will do all others. And you will do some smoke testing also. Wherever you think it might fail, you will have to do some smoke testing. Who are the intended audience for this test plan? Intended audience will be not only testers, developers, analysts, any architects, project managers. So everyone, you have to add their name and their title. You will in the template. And okay, let's do this. Let's open a template. So this template looks something like this. In that, you see this, the one which has open and closed, what do you call these, not brackets, but okay, in this content, whatever you have to enter the information in there. A project name should be updated there, version name will be updated there, and there are some instructions for each content, subsection or section. And you will have, this is one type of template. Doesn't mean that this is the exact one. You will have revision history. What date we created, what is the version number. So if you update 3 or 4 times, what will happen? 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, like that you will add what has been modified in your test plan. So one developer will say, okay, modify this. You write, update the document and write the version number, description, what has been changed, who updated it. Like that you add all that information. So by doing this, we know which is the latest version and what all we have missed and covered. That will be clearly understood here. Okay, revision history will be there. In table of contents, you will have again introduction, purpose, scope, like this. And again, if you see here, there is governing evaluation mission. For this project, this company might have done a little differently. Project context and background and source of test module. So these are like non-common. These are not regularly used in your other companies. But this particular company might have done that. So we'll look at the ones which are really important. Target test items. So what exactly do we need to really target? Overview of planned tests, like what is included in the test, what is not included, test exclusions, inclusions. Test approach means where are you starting, where are you going to end, measuring the extent of testing, identifying this test. So each one is a subsection. Okay, you will have entry and exit criteria. Entry means you need an input, you need an output. If you don't have requirement documents, you can't write a test plan. So your entry criteria is requirement documents are final, means that there are no updates. Everything is perfect. Everyone has signed up. That's when I will start writing my test plan. I don't want to start writing my test plan on a half-completed document, half-completed requirement specification document. Because if something keeps on changing, I need to keep on updating my test plan. That doesn't make sense. Deliverables. What should be in your deliverables? The deliverables will be your test evaluation summary, or outcome after you are done with your testing. What should be, what are you going to provide after you're done with your testing? Test evaluation summaries, like how much has been completed, reporting on test coverage, how many tests have finished testing, quality reports, logs, smoke test suite, all that information. It will change from company to company. Doesn't mean wherever you join. If I've worked in like 7 companies so far, and everywhere it's totally different. There is not a common document that they use. Depending on your need, you use a document. Okay. So that is an example. And as you can see here, I'll share all these documents to you. You can read through also. In purpose, what are you, instead of going in the presentation here, I'm going to the document here, okay? If you go to the document, we'll cover all this content here, and then we'll go in details when till 24 slide we can cover. So in the purpose, what are you entering? We are saying the purpose of the master test plan for this particular project, so and so project name, so and so phase, life cycle. It provides a central artifact. All this content will be default, and some content you have to modify. Okay, it depends on your project. Now the blue one highlighted, the text in blue explains you like what should be included in the scope. What is scope? It defines the types of testing such as functionality, usability, reliability, performance, supportability. So we talked about different types of testing. So all the types of testing information will be given at a higher level. We don't go in details. We'll say we're going to test functional testing, I'm going to test usability testing. Usability means anybody who can just test how easy it is to test a particular site, or how easy it is easy to use a particular portal is usability testing. Reliability means how reliable is your data. Like whatever you enter there, are you able to complete and able to search a hotel and able to book it? So reliability testing tells you like how reliable is your software. You can code with any language you want, but what the customer needs, he doesn't care how you develop a website or a particular application. What he needs is the output from the application. The application has to help him. That is what he's looking for. Instead of calling an hotel agent directly, he's booking to the site, which makes it easier for him. Performance. Now, if many people are logging into the site at the same time, and in some websites you might have seen in the past when we had dial-up internet, it goes on round and round. It keeps on trying to search the net. One web page to get refreshed, it used to take so long. 15 years back, when I started using the internet, it was 56 kbps dial modem. Okay, connection used to take so long, and after that the page refresh used to happen. One web page, one website with 5 pages, it takes me like half an hour to go through the content and learn something. That's how slow it was. Now it's pretty fast because it's not KB anymore. We are talking in megabytes, not even in kilobytes. Okay, 1000 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. In the past, it was only 56 kilobytes. Now, my internet speed is like 20 megabytes. That means 20,000 kilobytes per second. How many times did it increase in 15 years? 20,000 divided by 50 is like 4,000 times faster than 15 years back. So performance-wise, the net has increased. Similarly, the website, if it takes too long to upload their content and show it to the user, that means the performance is really, really bad. They have to, fix it. Supportability means if you raise a ticket or for example, you wanted some information from the portal, you email them. They have to, send a response back. And by supporting them and also supporting in any business functionality is supportability testing. It varies from business to business, company to company. It changes. So I'm just giving you a definition of these types of testing. Don't worry about it. And in the interview, they might ask you or not. But if anybody asks you a question on types of testing and they will ask you a meaning, by word, you can come up with the definition. That's a trick here. Every word has a particular meaning, and you have to come up with the answer, even if you don't know. Intended audience, you can specify a brief description of who is involved in this and whatnot. Now, I'll share this documentation to you. You can go through the content. The important one that I want to focus is overview of test inclusions, overview of test exclusions. Are you able to hear me, Hiren?
Hello?
Yeah, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I am able to hear you, but the screen is very small. I can see. Can you please zoom it?
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. 1 minute.
Window is very small.
Very small. You can't make it big on your side?
Right. All of a sudden, window get very small, your window size.
Maybe it's something on your side actually. Because on my side, I've increased the size. You might have clicked something, it might have gone smaller actually, the size of the window. If Mihir is there, you can ask him to make it maximize it.
Right. I think it was my side.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my side.
I'm here. Okay. So it increased now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So
now you can maximize the view size 100.
Okay. Good. So the important part in a test plan is test inclusion, test exclusion. Like what is included? Am I testing only 1 page, 2 page, or what I'm not testing? You have to tell them like what you are not testing. Otherwise, you say that I'm tested the entire website, and we realize that it hasn't been tested. So in exclusion, if you put, okay, I'm not testing this particular feature, but I'm testing the remaining part, then that comes under inclusions. Okay. Example is for that, I'll take you to a portal which we have been testing for some time. So this particular portal, if you look at, some of the images are missing here, and the content is also missing. So in our document, we have mentioned that we are not going to test this. This will come under test exclusion. I'm not going to test your front web page because it's not complete yet. But if I log in, okay, I'm going to check the details like how your website core content is working. Is it working exactly the same way? Can I, this particular site has to create waivers, templates, email those templates or managing this. Is it working? That's what I'll be testing. So if I add user, I click this button and add some user, for example, take your name and then add user like this. Can I add this? Or if I leave the email address and password, is it taking it or not? That will be tested. So in the inclusion criteria, this content will be included. I will say I will validate the functionality of users. So each one is a module here. Waivers is a module. Your template is a module. Email template. So each module I'm making sure what's included, what's excluded. Front page testing is not included. So it should be under the test exclusions. Now test approach. What is test approach? The test approach presents an overview of the recommended strategy for analyzing, designing, implementing, and executing the required tests. It tells you what are the target test items, okay, and also overview of planned tests, identified what items will be tested, and what type of tests will be performed. So what does this mean? This sentence mean? It tells you whether I'm doing functional testing. First I'll do functional testing, then I'll do integration testing, then I'll do system testing. Then I will go to end-to-end testing, UI performance. I'm mentioning different type of testing. And what will be covered in each testing will also be defined. That is your test approach. Okay, in some small projects, like 1 week, 2 week projects, you write test approach document. You don't write a big test plan. You don't need all this information. You need only what am I testing, how am I testing, when it will be completed, basic information. What are my inclusion and test exclusions that will be included. Or you can also, inclusions are also called as in scope, test in scope. Exclusions are also called as test out of scope. Okay. So this phase you might be testing one piece. In next phase you might be testing the other piece. Like that. In that case, what will be the in scope and out of scope, that will change for release to release. Okay. Now, in the test approach, you can add all this content, measuring the extent of testing, and read through the content here. And if you have any questions, let me know. So you can add all the content. This will be given in the template. The headings will be there. You will have to add the values. Okay. Master test plan entry criteria. Master test plan exit criteria. Entry criteria means what do I need to move forward before proceeding with my execution. And exit criteria. What can I give you after I'm done with my test execution? Suspension and resumption criteria means if suddenly in the middle of project, suddenly you realize your environment is totally gone havoc. That means none of the servers are working properly. The project has to be halted because you can't test it, test the application. That is suspension and resumption criteria. So once they fix the environment, you can start again. So in case of situations like that, what are you going to do? So you are putting a plan. If everything goes fine, I'll go in this direction. If something fails, I'll go in this direction. If something goes down and it comes back up, I'll go in this direction. That way you are telling your team members, this is what I'm going to test, how I'm going to test, what will be your output. And how do they trust, whether you will do it or not? In development, they will have to code and you will see the application. That way you know whether he has coded or not. But from tester, how do they know whether you have tested or not? Only you can know. You are specifying that in test plan and you write your test cases and execute it. By that, they will know, okay, whether all these requirements are tested properly or not. So these are the documents you need to give it to them as an artifact. Means that I have followed the process, I have covered so and so, and this is what I got out of it. Deliverables, as I talked to you, there are multiple deliverables here, and some of them might be needed, some of them might not be needed. Don't worry about it. I want to cover the important pieces. Responsibility, you can add like who would do what. Test manager will look at only the management of the team. Test analyst will, includes test ideas, test details, all the results and everything. Designer will only write design test cases. Tester, this is like standard. We are defining each role within the team, like who is doing what, so that our project team understand. If they should not expect a test manager to write test cases. Manager will be only managing the people. He won't test anything. So that is what you are adding here. Now another important thing is key project and phase milestones. Like by what date, what should be completed. So let me go back. By what time, what should be completed. First one, by test plan when it has been started, when we planned in the project plan. In the project plan, you will put all the tasks. So based on the date, you have planned, let's say July 15th, but actual start date is July 22nd. Okay, there is a 7-day delay already. Your planned end date will be, let's say August 15th, but since you have delayed here, it might end on August 22nd. So all that dates are captured and these are called the milestones. Means each level of testing that we are while going through the process, each level, dates, times, like what comes after another. If we have to track, we will do that. The test lead will look at this document and figure out if one tester is doing some content, other tester other content. He'll put a milestone. He will put deadline for each one of them. Okay, tester A, you finish this in 2 weeks. Tester B, finish this in 3 weeks. Like that, you will assign the task based on the number of tasks. Those are all milestones. Now, risk and mitigation strategy. In interview, they might ask you what is risk management, what is change management, Okay. What is configuration management? Remember these three words. Risk management means how do you manage risk? If something happens, environment goes down, or the requirements captured are not correct. These are all the risks you are taking while testing. And what can you do as a tester? If environment is down, you can only make it back up. So you know that it might go down. In case it goes down, you will delay your testing. The number of days it took to get it back up. So those are like the risks. Okay. Now change management means if there is any change in the requirement document, that has to go through a change process. So I find something problem in the document. While testing, I found. I will reach out to my analyst and tell, okay, this is not correct. You need to update this content in this document. Then that has to go through a change process. That means he can't just go into the document and he can't change it. He has to version control it. That means exactly as I showed you the version number. He has to update the document, add that version, details there. But to update the document, somebody has to give him approval. Everyone has to tell him, okay, you can go ahead and do it. Otherwise, he will not be able to do it. That is a change management process. You can't just directly go and change it. Configuration management. Okay, does Oracle 11g fits with this? Can Windows work for this application? These are all configuration. Okay. Remember this. If somebody asks you in an interview, you should be ready to answer this. Did you manage this as a tester? Will everybody manage this? No. Test lead will look into that. Tester will only test the project, application related content only. Okay. And finally, you will have approval and sign off. Like after I'm done, who all need to sign off on this document? You will give their names, their details, and once they are once they are done with the reviewing of document, they will send you an email or update the document itself. That I sign off. No? Now let's take an example. Okay, let's go back to the presentation, then we'll come back here. Now in the test plan contents here, this is an example. For example, master plan for a USB host mass storage driver. Now you will get confused. I don't want to take this example. I use this for my other training people. So we went to all this content here. Read through this when after the class. Now what I'm going to do is, okay, let me go back. Some of them are different than there. So introduction, we talked about like what is the introduction, what is will be covered, objectives and everything. Testing strategy, where will I start, how I am going to end, all the approach and all that information will be included. And some of the specific test plan components include purpose for this level of test, items to be tested, features to be tested, features not to be tested, management and technical approach. So this is a different format. Milestones, schedules, risk assumptions. But by default, in an before going to interview, you need to remember the different subheadings in a test plan. They will definitely ask you. Okay. Scope, we talked about scope, in scope, out of scope. We talked about reference material. That means all the documentation coming from the requirements and all sorts of documentation. Definitions and acronyms. This we didn't cover. What is definitions and acronyms? So if you use a certain abbreviation or a meaning, a word, you need to, if somebody has to understand, so you will put a definition there. Okay. Let's say I put a portal. I use portal in my entire test lab, but nobody knows what is a portal. They might be using a different name. So portal means hotels.com. So you are specifying instead of portal, imagine that this is the word for that. Instead of using hotels.com, I have used portal. That's how we are defining. Okay. Test approach, we have looked into the content. Pass and fail criteria. Now, what are the main criteria to tell a project whether it has passed or failed? If there are 150 test cases, 140 of them have passed, 10 of them failed due to some bugs, and they can get fixed. So your pass criteria, you're saying at least 95% of our test cases are pass, then that's the criteria I'm setting up. Fail criteria, if you are saying that I don't want any test case to fail, that means the project can't go move forward. All the test cases have to be passed. If something can't be tested and they want to fix it later in a later date, then that will be out of scope and your fail criteria will get updated. Did you understand this, Hiral?
Can you just unmute, please? Hello?
Okay. Yeah. Do you want me to repeat it?
The pass and fail criteria, and also I want to learn about, the risk management.
Risk management. So let's go back to risk management. Risk management is you are taking a risk in the project. Okay, let's take an example.
So tester take the risk on the risk management, or?
So tester won't create a risk management, but he's part of the process. That means he knows, for example, take this portal here. The portal front page is not working properly. I know it's not working properly. That is a risk you are taking, but you are testing the inner content, right? So what is your risk? Your risk, you are sure that the front page content is not correct. You already know it. I'm only looking at core functionality that I'll test in this release. In the next release, that means whenever the developer fixes the front page, I'll retest it again. And do you retest again the core content in the next stage? That will be a regression testing. And risk-based testing is wherever you are taking risk while you are testing becomes a risk-based testing. Priority-wise. Okay, now you see different modules here. Waivers, waiver templates, like that. Each module has a different functionality. In one place you are adding users, in other place you are creating a template, in other place you are creating a waiver from a template, like that. Okay. So if for example your email template in this one particular module, if your template is not created or something is not working here, and you still continue testing other pieces, that means you are taking a risk of not testing this module and continuing with other pieces. That is what is risk management. And other risk is if you have a resource risk, that means you are in a team. Somebody is working on a piece or a one section of the, for example, waiver templates. Let's say your friend is working on waiver templates. He is also a tester. And unless he is done with the waiver templates, you are assigned waivers. And you can't test it until he completes his testing. That is a dependency there. Suddenly he gets another job and he leaves. Okay, the risk, what is the risk there? Whether this work might have been completed or not completed. But your module is dependent on this. And you know that there is a risk of failure now because he hasn't tested properly. So that when you do risk-based testing, you will hope that this works and make sure some of the core functionality in waiver templates works. Then you test your module. I'm giving an example, but it will vary from situation to situation, company to company, and might be totally different. Let's go back to our now pass and fail criteria. You're telling what all need to happen to say that this particular testing process of this project has passed completely or not, or how do you determine whether it's a failure? Out of all the test cases, if everything passed, then obviously it has passed. But if you determine that there are some requirements, I can't test it, security requirements like that, those you can't test it obviously. So you set up a criteria. Okay, out of 150, 140 are the functional requirements. If we have all the is tested, that means your pass criteria is 100% accurate. The 10 requirements can't be tested. Fail criteria, where it might fail, a project, where can it fail? Due to internal or external. Like you are buying another, quality center is a software given by HP. Suddenly HP goes into an upgrade. They say, okay, we have a new version, can you upgrade? There, you determine while upgrading it, but you have to test the test cases. So your upgrade, while upgrading, there might be some other issue there. In your fail criteria, you are mentioning that, okay, I have, and if you are testing quality center itself, due to upgrade, you don't know how it's going to behave in the future. So my fail criteria can be reason of quality center, can be reason of something else. You specify it. That is external or internal. I'm taking an example of quality center, but any external vendor who is giving you an application, like Word document is given you by Microsoft, and all the companies are using it. Microsoft is a vendor for this company because we are using their products. Like that, any product can fail. You are setting a criteria where it might fail, why it might fail, is it acceptable or not. Test deliverables, as we talked, those are the outputs after you are finished with your testing. Testing tasks, what all testing you need to do, each one how it's aligned. Aligned means dependency, one by one you have to go. Responsibilities, who is going to do what. One tester might be doing test data only, one tester might be doing only functional testing, like that. Resources, we have talked about it. Schedule is task, when is testing for one task starting and when is it ending, all that is captured in a project plan. That is a schedule. Plan means you are scheduling everything. If you don't schedule, what's going to happen? You don't know who is testing, who is not testing, why we are testing. It's a big confusion. Now you will also specify what is the hardware included in the hardware, what is included in the software. All the content will be mentioned in the test plan content here. So hardware will be your server or your database, like that. Software will be, that is something which you install on your machine or web portal. Now let's go into the test cases. Okay. Do you want to go into test case, or do you want me to show you an example of another test plan?
Can you show me
Tomorrow,
the plan?
Okay. In tomorrow's class, what we'll do is we'll fill this test plan template. And okay, I am going to give you a requirement document and you'll have to fill out the test plan. Why is it not opening? I have so many softwares on my machine, it's getting slowly. It's taking too long. Okay, let us give it a minute. In the meantime, same case for this one too. Okay. So in other class, one of the class, what we did is we used a requirements in not this one, week 1, day 2. Requirements. In this one, we used a particular requirements. Give me a minute. Here, let me get it back up. Okay. Not sure what's going on here. Okay. Let's go back to our presentation until it takes time. So we still need to cover what are test cases. When the document comes back up, I'll go through one test plan today and I'll let you review it. Test cases. Now what are test cases? It is a simple a statement. In Excel, if you have a single row, imagine you have a single row there and you are trying to test something. I want to make sure my in this site, okay, let's take the example. My test case is validating that anybody can create an email template. Okay, you click on email template. Once you are there, you enter a name, you enter what type of waiver it is or request, then create. So those are like 4 or 5 steps are included there. But your test case will have all these steps there, test steps. And also you will have more content like what are my inputs, what are my execution preconditions, expected outcomes of particular objective, and you define everything there. Who is going to write test cases? QA, tester will do it. When? During planning, or can be during design, can be coding, can be testing stages also. Why we are saying coding? Unit testing will be done there. Those are unit test cases will be written. During planning and design, we can do verification test cases or static analysis test cases. Why are we writing these test cases? To plan, test effort, resources, and all, for many other reasons, we are making sure we are writing test cases to test a requirement. Each requirement, okay, each requirement can have one or more high-level scenarios. Scenario, as I told you, testing a login functionality on a email provider, on Yahoo Mail or Gmail, is a scenario. What type of data you use to log in are all test cases. I can use name as numbers, name as alphabets only, or alphanumeric. So there are 3 test cases for that scenario. That's how you need to break down each content. What are the elements in a test case? It will have an ID, a test case ID, unique identifier of a test case. That means, how do you know which test case passed or failed? It will have a number, TC underscore 1.0, TC underscore 1.1, like that. Those are numbers. Features to be tested or steps. Steps, as you've seen in the website, like step by step, you write test steps. Expected result means what are you expecting to happen? Are you expecting it to, in this case, what is your expectation? I should be able to create an email template, right? Your expectation is email template can be created. But while testing, will you test right now? You won't. You will only write expected only. Actual will be left blank. While you execute the test cases, that means when you follow step by step, do all the steps, and you will record what you are getting as output. Am I able to create a template, email template here or not, will be written in the actual results there. If expected result doesn't match with actual result, what will happen? You tell me. Whether it's a pass or failure. If expected result, you are expecting something, but something else happens. Is it pass or is it failure?
Something happens, it's fail, right?
Yeah, if you expect it to, in this particular portal here we are creating an email template. If the email template is not created, what is it? Is it a pass or a test case, or is it a failed test case?
I guess it is failed test case.
Don't guess, you're right.
Okay.
So if you don't expect how you wanted, it doesn't come that way or doesn't function that way, that means it has failed. That means it's a bug there. If this create button doesn't work properly. See, it's when I highlight, it's changing the color. But if I click it, nothing happens. That means that is a defect or a bug. Then it's a failed test case. So always expected result should match with the actual result. And title of a test case, the name of the test case, TC underscore module name by, you can add however you want. You have the luxury of adding the name however you want so that it makes easy. I generally put a big name like Greenwaiver. Greenwaiver is the portal in this case. Here, Greenwaiver, GW underscore. I will say email template validation. That tells you I'm testing the email template in the test case. That is the name. So I want to, if anybody look at all the test case names there, they have to know which one is pointing there. They don't need to read, go through each and every one. Your name, like how your name has been defined as Irel, and I can find who is Irel, exactly like that. By looking at the name of test case, you should know what's inside it. And goal or objective. What is your objective of this test case? What are you testing? That you need to include there. I'm validating email template functionality. Okay. Project application ID was project, and that information will be provided with the project name and number, bug numbers in case if something failed. You will specify whether it's a positive or a negative test case also. Okay. In test cases, what are the inputs through the UI from the interfacing systems or devices, files, databases, state or environment? Anything can be your input. Either you can test on a database, you can test on a file, you can test on an environment, you can test on a website, anything can be. What are your outputs to UI, to interfacing systems or devices? Exact same thing. Like wherever you test, you will get an output on that particular application only. In some cases, you will get somewhere else. If I click a button here on this particular portal here, output also comes here, input also provided here, output also comes here, right? So your test case will be that input and output will be on the same screen or same application, like that. Now, the other part is defect life cycle. Let's cover this tomorrow because that's a very key concept. If you look at our portal here, I have used some graphics here, and did you ever think about like what is this picture here? This is a bugs or defect life cycle. How it's created, how it's going. So we looked at V model. If you remember, we went through software. So that V model picture is here. Test life cycle, like what happens one by one. And this is defects life cycle. This is also very important one. How do you test manual testing? I put a picture here. I liked it because that's how you need to do. You get the requirements, do analysis in the requirements, write the test case, test it, then find any bugs will be created, then retest. Otherwise, test results, then finally release. So everything will have a process will be defined through graphically much better than anything else. Rather than the words, it's much easier. So from the content wise, we'll halt it here. But let's see, open this requirement document here. Sorry, test plan document. I'm halting the recording here, Hiral.
Okay.
But let me